Okay, today we're joined by Emmy Award-winning producer and director Douglas Chang. From Live from Lincoln Center's star-studded Sweeney Todd with Emma Thompson and Bryn Terfel to PBS specials like Salute to Service with the U.S. Army Field Band to capturing cutting-edge dance and theater at Montclair State peak performances, Douglas has spent 2 decades finding inventive, equitable ways to bring the performing arts to millions on public television and beyond. He's an award-winning playwright. His drama, Minor Burr, just took home the 2025 Charles M. Getchell New Play Award. Douglas, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. It's
Thank you.
nice
I
to
got
be
to
here.
tell you, we're so excited when you agreed to come on and speak with us because you embody exactly what this podcast is about. Whereas people throughout the course of their career take on different endeavors, and then the summation of all those endeavors help formulate where they are and what's their springboard for them moving forward. And you've had such a rich fabric of experiences that I'm just delighted to learn more about them from you. So thank you.
My pleasure.
So to that point, you mentioned to our producers the happy accidents and the hustle behind a 30-year career that kind of maybe like form your opinions on how things operate or how things could be better or how you could improve upon them. Can you talk about a happy accident with us?
Oh, there are so many happy accidents. I mean, and some unhappy accidents as well that
I
turned out to
imagine.
be happy. But, I think that my career has been sort of the classic weird full circle kind of thing where I started thinking I was going to do one thing. I wanted to sort of vaguely be in the performing arts, working on the stage and behind the camera. My family loved theater and movies, and we always went there, but we had very little context for how the industries worked. So I just kind of felt my way through and made my mistakes and just kind of bounced around. Ended up working for some documentary film companies. That led me to PBS. That led me to Hollywood, to Los Angeles, where I started working on some of my own narrative films. And then when I came back to New York, I started filming. One of the films was about jazz musicians. It was a fiction film, but I was using real jazz musicians in it. And at one point, somebody called me up. It turned out to be the new executive producer of Live from Lincoln Center. I went in thinking, oh, maybe I can get some freelance work. And he said, well, we need a new producer. And I had just kind of done my abbreviated version of multicam with not really a multicam setup, but as if it was a multicam setup.
Mhm.
And so I kind of jumped in and I'm not sure that I deserved the job, but I tried my best to earn it once I was there.
But was this your work on Sweeney Todd?
You mean the Live from Lincoln Center job?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Sweeney Todd was one of the many projects we filmed over the years. I was there for 8 years. We filmed usually 6 to 8 shows a year, going across the gamut of projects ranging from dance, theater, concerts, big concerts like the Philharmonic, small concerts like Chamber Music Society, and cabaret. It was really a pretty wonderful place for me to land, given that I had sort of decided when I moved back to New York that I really wanted to get back into the performing arts. And suddenly there I was working with some of the greatest artists in the world.
I love it. I love it. Well, obviously you rose to the occasion and to the task at hand because you were recognized for all your efforts. And it's almost like you've described this non-linear sort of career path, which is so exciting to me because it's not uncommon that as people get on in years, they get a little sedentary. And quite to the contrary, you've expanded and exploded, if you will, into all these different creative endeavors. So was there one was it your move back to New York that shifted your mindset, or was it a particular experience or performance?
It's funny because I think at one point when we were kind of initially talking about these interesting themes, somebody mentioned that my whole career seems like a performance art piece. And I love that characterization because I've always been kind of simultaneously drawn to like classic theater, dance, and music. And at the same time, sort of had this weird, I wouldn't quite call it avant-garde sensibility, but I always kind of wanted to to find interesting new ways of presenting things and looking at some of the work that we've done. I think that when I look at my career in that light, I think that I have always sort of kind of marched my way into situations that I wasn't quite sure about. Sometimes it was falling, sometimes it was just by necessity finding an opportunity that I had to figure out what to do with. And I guess I just feel pretty lucky that I found, the number of interesting and productive things that I've been able to do over the years.
Right. Well, it is, fortune favors the bold, and it is the risk takers. And, I've always been one that believes that, every experience is a learning experience. Whether you learn you never want to do it again, or whether you learn this was a hidden opportunity that was right before me, but I wasn't aware of until I jumped in, not knowing if it would be successful. So congratulations. You've obviously, been your intuition served you well, I guess. You've mentioned that you said awards can feel like luck. And it's true. Some awards are politically, motivated, and you're not in control of the boards that decide and determine the awards. But the other side to that coin is the awards are often given to the best and the brightest. So is there a project of yours that you felt was deserving of more recognition than it got? And could you tell us a little bit about that if that's true?
Sure. I mean, I can give you one very direct example from the Emmys. I've been nominated twice. I received it for Sweeney Todd, and that was very satisfying on many levels, least of which that Sweeney has been one of my touchstone favorite pieces practically since I was a teenager when I first saw it. I actually tried to propose a college production of it when I was in school, and it got turned down, but you know, 25 or 30 years later, there I am being able to film a professional production with amazing people in it and then to get that award. That said, I always felt like the other one that I was nominated for, which was Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel, also produced by the New York Philharmonic, that was the one that felt to me, I mean, I would say that of the projects I've worked on, that was the one that just felt like magic to me. Everything
Mm.
clicked. Everyone was amazing to work with. And you had Kelly O'Hara and Jesse Mueller, and then you had Nathan Gunn and Stephanie Blythe, who's always been one of my favorites from the opera world. You had Tyler Peck and Robbie Fairchild doing the pas de deux. You had Rob Fisher and John Rando directing and doing the music. It was such an amazing experience where everything clicked. Everybody, they only had like a couple weeks to rehearse this whole thing. And it was only supposed to be a concert production, but they put so much love and creativity into the whole thing. And I think we tried to put that kind of same feeling into the production of it for TV. I just would have loved to have seen that one. And I feel like, okay, there's where you just kind of let go and say, I'm happy that, I received an award. You kind of get humble about it and say, calculation or metric for actually winning one of these awards is. I mean, I would say about Sweeney that, we were definitely the little guy of the projects that were up for the award. I mean, for us, it was a big budget project, but compared to the Olympic opening ceremonies or one of the other award shows, I mean, we were tiny, tiny. And I almost feel like a lot of people have won Emmys, but how many people in the world can say they beat out Beyonce in a direct competition, right?
You're very humble. I'm sure it was amazing, and I can't wait to Google it and watch it myself. But you raise a good point, though. I think what the takeaway from here is the awards are nice, but it's a sense of satisfaction at the end of the day. This was great. Whether I took home the gold or not, so be it. But I'm so happy to hear that the Olympics and Beyonce will have to come back to the table another time and win their award when you're not competing.
They'll have plenty
So
of more chances.
yes, exactly. I agree. Um, Now, I've noticed that, and you've spoken about opera, dance, film, television. All these are all very, very different in terms of the performance and capturing the performance and how the performers exude, their roles. I mean, Did any one of them sharpen your instinct more than the other? And can you discuss that a little bit?
I apologize, but I'll probably hedge on this one because, and this is true about the way I look at things, I think the combination is of the different elements is what's kind of unique to my weird, specific checkered career. I mean, I learn by taking pieces of each and trying to put them together in some kind of a satisfying or emotionally moving way. I think of theater as in musical terms. I think of dance as kind of moving version of photography or painting. I see all of these things as things that you can kind of combine and find new elements. I'm an old cinema studies Sergei Eisenstein guy who likes to think that two things in juxtaposition can add up to more than the sum of their parts. So
Mhm.
that's the way I've always tried to approach my projects
Excellent.
and others.
All right, so I have to ask you about the Charles M. Getchell New Play Award. I mean, that was a new undertaking when you created that. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So I had started writing plays just kind of coincidentally. I mean, we were going through a rough patch over at Lincoln Center. There was a change of management. It was the fifth change of management in the 8 years I was there. Honestly, we didn't know where we were going at this point. Our department was kind of getting pushed into a different division. So, just to let off steam, I started writing plays again, which I hadn't done since I was pretty much in college. I'd written some screenplays and stuff, but being in proximity of the theater so much for the last several years, I just felt like, there were a couple things that were calling me and challenging me. And then when COVID hit and everything shut down, I had nothing to do but write plays. And so I just started churning them out. And this was the first one that I completed, which was sort of a deeply fictionalized kind of meditation on the life and legacy of Harper Lee, the writer of To Kill a Mockingbird. And I have to say the Getchell Award was a great surprise, a great joy. And what was uh, especially exciting about it was that, this came from the Southeastern Theater Conference, one of the biggest conferences theater conferences in the whole country. And more than that, it was, largely comprised of people from the South who, you know, having them give their stamp of approval to what I had written about someone whose whole body of work was about the South made me feel especially good that I was kind of on the right track.
Right, clearly. Harper Lee is a relatively private individual. Was the research to that challenging?
Well, I wanted to, yes, I think that because she was private, that's what was so intriguing to me. There were many things, and also it gave me a little license to, as I said, it's fictional, so it's not a literal representation of her life or work. But there were so many aspects that, especially surrounding the second book that was published, Go Set a Watchman. A lot of people initially gave it really rough reviews saying, well, it's not really a fully fledged book. It's more like a rough draft. And then I started looking into it and I realized they were really not so much criticizing the book as much as they were angry at what she had done to the Atticus Finch character. And I said, wow, there's got to be something else there because there was a reason why she put this book out. And so I just kind of delved into what it said about our world and the way we deal with the kind of questions that she was trying in her scattershot career to address. I mean, I also feel great sympathy for her in my own kind of scattershot career. So I think that really resonated for me too.
Right, exactly. Well, I think, yeah, you're right. She's fairly misunderstood in many ways, although appreciated still to this day.
Oh, yeah.
So, what's your next project? What's your next, dream project that you're thinking about undertaking?
I would say, I mean, there a lot of projects that I'd like to undertake. I mean, I hope that I can find the resources to do some of them. I mean, right now, my big goal is to create a number of series and plays and other work that can sort of represent, to help to represent the challenges that everyday Americans have faced, and to give them back a little sense of the agency that they've spent a lot of time kind of being minimized and put down and sometimes misrepresented in terms of, their politics, their understanding of the world. My experience has been, that everyday Americans probably understand the world better than a lot of the people at the top of the food chain. And I'm trying to find ways of representing that. So the big thing that I'm working on is a kind of series of stories that revolve around a family like mine, came to the United States, loved the United States, found the kind of challenges. Each play or piece would be focused around one period of a certain president, going on from roughly Kennedy to Reagan.
Excellent. Well, I have to say, there was a time when theater was about escapism, but bringing social issues to the forefront and having a story that the public can relate to is so important, especially when it's written, from the heart. And the fact that you've got this wealth of experience in all these different medium and working with artists across the board should put you well suited to be on the verge of the cusp of greatness. I'm so impressed. And I'm so happy that you spent some time with me and I could learn some of these insights from you.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I hope that it was more or less talking about what you wanted to talk about in terms of.
Yep. I wanted to talk about you. Okay. And good luck with all your future endeavors.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks again for joining.